Are you thinking of launching a Kickstarter campaign, or are you gearing up to the launch of a campaign soon and you're wondering how do you make this crowdfunding campaign a success? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you some of the major critical things you gotta do if you want to be successful with that campaign. More importantly, if you want to go through this campaign launch, it will be filled with confidence, make this as easy as pie, a piece of cake. I think that you're really going to like some of the items in this list, so make sure you watch until the end of this video. And in addition, stay clear of some of the pitfalls that I'm going to mention, because you don't want to become a failed crowdfunding statistic and have this be a huge headache going into your launch. My name is Salvador Briggman, and let's get into it. All right, preparation can be annoying to say the least, and I think all of us just kind of want to get a project out there. I'm much more of like a ready, fire, aim guy. I get really excited about something. I want to push it out there to the world to impact millions of people. But that being said, I would say one of the major pitfalls I see in common with those campaigns that aren't successful, those coaching students who struggle versus the people who have been wildly successful, even those who come on my podcast, Crowdfunding Demystified, are telling you how they raise 6 and 7 figures, it really comes down to one word, and that word is preparation. So this is very important when it comes to setting a strong foundation for your launch, and you should be focused on this going into an upcoming campaign. Number one in the list is that you gotta validate your project idea. Now, I have a whole other YouTube video out there going through step by step how you can conduct market research, how you can validate your project or your product idea, and even the prototype going into a successful crowdfunding campaign. So go watch that YouTube video. But by product or idea validation, what I mean, I guess a better way to say, what is the opposite of that? The opposite of that is just really playing your cards close to the chest. Not telling anyone about this prototype, not showing anyone, not getting any kind of user feedback. And while that can really preserve your ego, at the same time, it makes a launch far more difficult, because when your product or project doesn't come into contact with the real world, it's not going to go through an iterative improvement process. So a lot of times when we're sharing and getting feedback on our ideas, our projects, and our prototypes, we're really being able to then refine that core product, the way we're marketing it. You also get tons of feedback, even get some objections, and it can really inform a well-crafted crowdfunding campaign strategy, and that way you can be far more successful. So you want to make sure you test out your idea, even if that's just getting some qualitative or quantitative feedback on it. Tip number 2, and I would say this is one of the most challenging for a lot of my students out there who maybe aren't as creative-minded, it's to really brainstorm effective and compelling rewards that are going to excite your backers. So this is really when you start to think about, okay, I have this idea, I have this project that I want to get out there, and I want to get funding, but what's in it for other people? And if you watch some of my YouTube videos out there on why people back starter campaigns, one of the core reasons not only is that they want to support and help out the creator, they want to be a part of a growing brand, they want to be a part of a community, but it's also they want to get their hands on those really cool perks and rewards, and also likely exclusive ones as well, that fear of missing out. So you want to think about some perks and rewards that are really going to excite your backers, and also to go beyond that, to think about the way you're actually structuring those perks and rewards. You don't want to have too many because you create decision fatigue. You don't want to have too few because you're going to miss out on the ability to maximize the average cart value or the average order value when it comes to that specific crowdfunding campaign. And in addition, you want to make sure you include certain marketing mechanisms to create urgency, fear of missing out, social proof, and an appetite that they're getting a better deal than they can anywhere else. Number 3 is arguably one of the most important in the list, and that's because really what's selling campaigns nowadays, what's getting people excited about new projects, is the video medium. So you want to make sure that you have a compelling pitch video, that you don't go too long, that you also include the major elements that are required to get a stranger to back your campaign on Kickstarter. If you really want to have your campaign go viral, if you want thousands of people worldwide to resonate with your message, and also to be able to tell a brand story where those people that are watching that assign premium value to your product, you really want to study some of the great Kickstarter campaign pitch videos that are out there. This is one thing that I talk about in my free course on Kickstarter, and really the hallmark format that goes into a compelling Kickstarter pitch video. Between you and me, and I'll be a little bit honest here, I think this is probably one of the most scary parts for many creators out there, and that's why they kind of push it off and push the boulder down the hill, and it's one of the things they do last. But in reality, you really want to try to think ahead and confront that fear initially head on, that 10,000 pound gorilla. You want to begin to think about, what are the kinds of shots that I'm going to need? What are the product features, functions, and benefits I'm going to demonstrate? Where could I even film a pitch video like this? Should I be in the video or not? I'm going to have a voiceover, video effects, and really start to think about, for your specific category, even if you don't have a physical product, maybe you have a card game, a comic book, a tabletop, a music album, a book you've written, right? Really really think about your category, the types of videos that do well. And if you want to learn more about the proven format for that, go and check out my free course at crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter. That link will take you there. Just enter your name and email, and you can start getting some lessons from me at crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter. Numero cuatro, or number 4 in my list. And I say numero cuatro because I'm actually adopted from El Salvador, and I've been learning more and more Spanish as the years have been going by. So it's been getting a little bit better. But number 4 in the list is really, to me, the thing that's going to not only sell your campaign and your product, but also it kind of checks off that logical decision-making person in our brain that we all have. And that's to have an effective and compelling crowdfunding campaign page and making sure you have the right elements on that page. I can't tell you the number of coaching calls that I do where we're really just going through and upgrading all the elements that are needed, pointing out the things that are missing. And it's a lot of work. There's many moving pieces. So the earlier you get started with just recognizing what are the kind of product photos that I need. Should I have someone here? What could the background be? What are some of the visuals and graphics I'm going to need to think about getting or creating leading into that launch is going to help you tremendously. And if you want to learn more about that, I actually have a YouTube video out there sharing with you how to craft an effective Kickstarter campaign and some of the elements that you're going to need. So make sure you go and watch that. 5, and I think we're going to get a collective groan from the entire audience about what I'm about to mention because it's kind of the least fun when you're working on a new hobby or a passion project or an idea. But what I will say is that if you've even listened to even one episode of the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast, my podcast that I'm a host on, I bring on guests every single week. When it comes to those that have been successful, pretty much every single guest has been able to turn their hobby or their passion into a thriving business. So what I would say for number 5 in my list is that you want to be just a tiny bit structured and planned out. And by that, I mean to begin to think about the organization of your actual work going into the project. So for example, making sure you have different assets and media assets in a Google Drive, beginning to use Excel and Word docs. If you want to get more advanced, using a project management tool like Basecamp or Monday.com, there's so many easy ways that you can organize this project, which is going to make it a lot simpler to communicate with other people, to collaborate with others, and when you're looking back, to also get an understanding of how that project went. I've had coaching students who will launch campaign after campaign that will raise 5 and 6 figures on Kickstarter. So when you really document this process, it's a very exciting journey that you're going on. You can look back on that, you can refine that, you can improve that with your next launch. I think it makes a lot of sense to think a little bit about the project management element of your campaign. Number 6, and while we're still in those kind of serious topics, we'll get some more fun ones in a second. I think that another big important one is kind of like the logistics behind fulfilling your rewards and just thinking a little bit through that. So for example, I've had campaign creators that get wildly overfunded. What's going to happen if all of a sudden you wake up on a Thursday morning and you have 2,000 or 3,000 orders which you have to fulfill? So we obviously have partners that we work with to help with some of those processes, but there are many different tools out there to help you streamline the order and the fulfillment process. In addition, thinking things through like, should I be shipping locally, nationally, or even worldwide when it comes to my rewards? So the more that you can begin to think about some of those processes and procedures, not only are you going to get more clarity around your price point when it comes to rewards and the shipping amounts, but also you'll be able to very quickly set up that crowdfunding campaign page and be aware of where you're shipping it and answer any kind of FAQs as they come in. You can also think more behind rewards, items that you might be including in those rewards, add-ons, stretch goals, you name it. I'm really mentioning the logistics component of your campaign. Want to take all the stress out of fulfilling your Kickstarter rewards? Fulfillrite is the turnkey solution that puts product delivery on autopilot. The Top Campaigns uses trusted high-tech provider to store, package, and ship their products. Focus on growing your business. Leave shipping to the experts. Don't wait. Get a custom quote from Fulfillrite today. Link in the description. Now, my next tip here can make or break your campaign. And one of the reasons why it's just gosh darn so important going into a launch. And that's really to be mindful of and to create a digital marketing strategy. Digital marketing is a whole subject entirely. And what I actually did was, after working with thousands and thousands of campaigns over the years, I've distilled all the best tips, tricks, tools, and really the blueprint that goes into a successful launch. This is the paint by numbers formula, and I put that into one slender volume, which I call the Kickstarter launch formula. So this is actually a book which you can grab a copy of on Amazon or via ebook version there. And also, if you like to listen to books, if you love to listen on the go, on the way to work, if you're doing dishes, you're cleaning your room, whatever it is, right? You can actually listen to the Kickstarter launch formula. I have a version on Audible that I will link up down below. But one of the biggest takeaways from that book is that you need to have a digital marketing strategy. And in that book, I really outline the various channels that are most likely to drive ROI in terms of backers and super backers. We also get more into how you go even beyond that to have a viral success when it comes to your campaign. You need to have a written out, ideally, digital marketing strategy and have a plan, because Kickstarter is a wonderful and incredible marketplace. And you can get people to back your campaign who's you've never met before, but you gotta prime the pump. You got to bring a little bit of the crowd to that platform so that way you can actually rank in the charts and you can begin to get strangers to notice your project. Now, my next item in the list for today's video is a little bit like when you're going to the gym and like digital marketing is on everyone's mind when you're going live. It's kind of like you're building up your biceps or your chest, right? It's the first thing you think about when it comes to going to the gym. But what most experienced lifters know is that you really can't neglect leg day, because you got to have a well-balanced and well-proportioned physique, and also your legs are a huge element of your body. And it's also great when it comes to strength and mobility as you begin to age, and also really just important for overall physical well-being. So we'd want to liken that to, for example, doing a pre-marketing campaign before you go live on Kickstarter. And this is one area that so many creators neglect. Maybe they have a digital marketing strategy when they're going live, but they aren't thinking about the pre-live stage. Before you go live, how are you creating anticipation? How are you building a brand and communicating with potential backers? This is one of the most gosh darn powerful phases, because it's really going to bleed into your launch and people are going to start to actually then take action if you've been doing your pre-marketing activities correctly. So this is an area that goes beyond the scope of this video. I do have a video out there on YouTube that goes into this a little bit more in depth. So you really want to think about this pre-launch phase, but also when you're live, and the post-Kickstarter phase as well, because you're already spending tremendous amounts of time, energy, and you're learning new stuff. You're watching guys on YouTube just like this who are explaining new concepts to you. You want to make sure you make the most of your time when you're live, and that's even just going to extend your sale and get more and more people to become a part of your tribe. So be aware of the phases of the launch, but more specifically, pay attention to the pre-marketing that you're doing. At this point in the video, you might be just a little bit overwhelmed with all the things going into a launch, but I would say that this is really a major event in your life. And if you do it well, not only could you have even a career-shifting campaign that allows you to build a brand from scratch that continues years into the future, but it could even be the start of a whole new business, a whole new way of enjoying your life, of being able to create things that resonate with an audience, and having that tribe, that foundation that supports you wherever you go. I've had students that go from Kickstarter to Indiegogo and then decide to do Patreon campaigns where they're getting regular supporters, and then even decide to get investment capital from using mechanisms like equity crowdfunding on websites like WeFunder. So once you actually have that tribe, you can launch multiple campaigns on different platforms, and those tribes, those people will come with you. And it's one of the coolest assets, I think, to have when it comes to running your own business. Sometimes though, it's a little bit challenging to build that tribe on your own, and that's why my next tip in the list is to make use of PR and influencers when it comes to doing your Kickstarter campaign. So you can begin to warm them up ahead of time before you go live with your launch, and that could even be reaching out to potential influencers, that could be media publications, that could be blogs. I do have a video out there on YouTube that kind of goes through this in more a step-by-step fashion, but what I would say is that more often than not, if you start to look at different Kickstarter campaigns nowadays, you're beginning to notice that more and more are launching with influencers on their side, and even using other tools out there like Kickbooster in order to create affiliate programs as well, so people can be incentivized when they market and promote that Kickstarter campaign. So this is gosh darn powerful. I have more resources out there, but it goes beyond the scope of this video, and I'll try to remember to include a link down below on the one specific video I did on PR and influencers. And number 10 in my list is that you gotta soak up as much knowledge and information as possible. So that would be, for example, just incorporating into your daily routine or even a couple of days per week, listening to a podcast, right? We publish a version of the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast on YouTube. It's also on Spotify and iTunes, and you can listen to that on the way to work. You can listen to that as you're going about your day. You can download my book, The Kickstarter Launch Formula, me. You can begin to listen to that as you're doing other things, just to start surrounding yourself with new voices. Picking up a copy of a book, reading through that, understanding and beginning to study other campaigns that are being launched on Kickstarter, even backing one or two. It could even be for $1 or $5 or $10, just to see what the experience is like as a backer. You want to begin to accumulate knowledge and information about the specific subject when it comes to doing a successful Kickstarter campaign, but also to start talking to the right people. And that kind of leads me into my next item here, which is if you've been learning a lot when it comes to these videos or listening to podcasts, or you've been reading blog posts and those kinds of things, but you still feel like there's certain pieces of the puzzle that are just not clicking. Like there's that kind of mystery box. You're just wondering, how do I actually go out there and do this from a nuts and bolts perspective for my specific category, for my unique situation? If you need just a little bit of help and guidance going into your campaign launch, one of the things that I offer is really for people that are serious, that want to make the most of launching this campaign on Kickstarter. And if you want to kind of cut through the fluff, you want to stop listening to podcasts and watching videos, and really just want to know, what do I got to do to be maximally successful with this campaign? Go down below and learn more about my individual one-on-one coaching call option, because you can use the link down below at crowdcrux.com/coaching to book a one-on-one intensive coaching call with me. This is a great option if you want to build a strong foundation going into your launch. You want to make sure you dot your I's and you cross your T's. And I think more importantly, make this a bigger event. If you want this to be the start of a new journey continuing years into the future, and you want to make sure that you're not only doing it by the book, but also you don't know what you don't know and you're filling in all of those gaps. So getting access to the best resources, the tips and techniques that I don't talk about on this YouTube channel, even introducing to other people in the industry. If you want to learn about that and more, go down below and book your individual one-on-one coaching call. And in addition, we will work selectively, individually with certain students if we really believe in your project. And we can talk about that more at the end of the call. But go down below at crowdcrux.com/coaching and you can get your call scheduled today. My man, I hope you enjoyed today's YouTube video. And if you did enjoy this, take a second to leave a positive comment down below. Tell me more about what you're working on. If you want to, you can even tell me more about your project. You can also give me a thumbs up if you did enjoy this video. And more importantly, if you want videos like this every single week delivered to your inbox, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. My name is Salvador Briggman, and I'll see you next time.